The foot-tapping anthems, the beats, the iconic beginnings. Music draws you in. Let's dive into the melodies that shape our lives. A journey through the symphony of your mind.
Welcome to Your Brain on Music, a podcast that asks the question, what really happens in your brain when you listen to music? Here's your host, Anthony Cirillo.
Well, thank you, Jim Nance, for that wonderful, warm introduction. And welcome, everybody, to Your Brain on Music, a podcast that asks a question, what really happens in your brain when you listen to music? Our original concept, which we will get to, is to pick a song of the week and dissect it from a point of view from an artist, and also the public point of view, and also a neuroscience point of view. But we're a little short on neuroscientists right now, but we're rounding them up, and we will do that. In the meantime, we're doing our Sage Stream. Sage Stream is a live stream interactive music network for seniors, caregivers, and senior living where we have 120 artists on the platform. And what I've opened up to my artists is to do a podcast with us to explore their love of music and what songs resonate with them and why. And so today we have Denny Sarokin. He has written, recorded, and toured with Every Mother's Son, Rick Nelson, and the Stone Canyon Band, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, The Monkey's Bread, and other hit artists. He's written and recorded hundreds of songs for TV and soundtracks. Denny is one of Nashville's premier guitar instructors and author of the best-selling DVD, Lictionary, The Songwriter's Guide to Great Guitar. He's worked as a guitar instructor and song consultant for Nashville Songwriter Association International, the Tennessee Songwriters Association International, the National Guitar Workshops, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on, Denny. Denny created the Make Your Guitar Your Co-Writer and Songwriting in 3D workshops. And we're going to spend a little time particularly on that today. Welcome to the program. As soon as I make my little switcheroo here. Denny Sarokin, how are you, Denny?
I am fine, thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to thank you for including me in your Sage Stream program. You know, it's an honor to be with it, and I think it's just a great gift for the artist as well as the clientele, and I appreciate what you do.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being on the program from time to time, and so we're going to do something a little different in this podcast. We're actually going to play one of your songs and talk about something that you've created, a construct, a 3D construct for writing songs. But before we get to that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all?
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, then lived in New York City, and that's where we had the Every Mother's Son when I was about 17, 18. And did music there, wound up going out to California, basically just chasing the music. I was involved in a film that was like a clone ripoff of the Monkees. I think Warner Brothers did a film, got me out to California. Thank God they shelved the film. But that kept me there. Then I wound up, playing clubs, doing some local sessions, and winding up with Rick Nelson and the Stone Canyon Band, which was great. It was great working with Rick and the band. And, as much as Rick was a teen idol and a star and a legend, it was really a Robin Hood and his Merry Men atmosphere, and I got to record 8 of my songs with him, and it was just a great musical and personal experience.
That's awesome. I'm sure you have stories. We can explore that maybe another time, but we are going to talk about songwriting. So tell me about this 3D concept of songwriting, and we're going to actually break apart a song. First, we're going to play the song. You could tell us a little bit about maybe the origin story of the song and this approach, and then you cue me and we'll play it, listen together, and then you can kind of dissect it from there.
The name of the song is Grace of God.
was walking down on Main Street late one cold December night when a shadow man approached me underneath the corner light. His clothes were torn and tattered, and his eyes had lost their shine, but I recognized that old school friend of mine. He lost his home and all he'd owned when they closed the factory down. He lost his wife and family when the bottle came around. He lost his faith, he lost his hope, he lost his sense of pride. And I said there, but for the grace of God go I. There, but for the grace of God go I. And today may bring you fortune, and tomorrow pass you by. I can't always help a brother, but I'm bound at least to try. I know there, but for the grace of God go I. When I see the senseless suffering every night on my TV, the corruption and the violence and the inhumanity, see the wrath of Mother Nature, hear the hungry children cry, I say there, but for the grace of God go I. There, but for the grace of God go I. And the world can turn around you in the blinking of an eye. I can't always help a brother, but I'm bound at least to try. I know there, but for the grace of God go I. And when I see my children sleeping safely in their beds, I get down upon my knees and prayers of thanks are said. Then I think of all the lost and lonely souls along the way, and I pray there's something I can do to lift them up, to help them through, to give them hope to face another day. We are all God's chosen people in some great eternal plan, and we touch the heart of heaven when we help our fellow man. And if we're judged by our compassion in the great sweet by and by, I hope there, but through the grace of God go I. There, but through the grace of God go I. And I hope to find a home up in that mansion in the sky. I can't always help a brother, but I'm bound at least to try. I hope there, but for the grace of God go I. There, but for the grace of God go I.
All right, you've heard that fake applause before. There you go.
A thunderous round of applause.
A thunderous round. So let me ask you, first of all, when did you write this song?
I wrote this song many years ago. And you can see when I talked about how harmonies and guitar arrangements, just that simple little merry-go-round theme that I have to it, and using the Chet Atkins kind of folk, originally finger-picking style, and Chet turned it into something else. And to me, even early on, my dream band was a band that sang like the Weavers and played like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And when I heard the Eagles, I went, dang!
That's it.
They beat me to it. I wrote this song. I had been out in Nashville for a while, and I had a surprise like ninja divorce thing go on in LA before I moved out. And I knocked on every door, and it was just like And I just really hit an emotional, a financial, emotional lifestyle. If I were a drug addict or an alcoholic, that would have been my last moments.
Right.
And I fell down, and I have a thing that I call mother's prayers, which is like, there's prayers, oh, please, I hope for someday or this or that, or I hope this person heals. And if God forbid your kid was hit on his tricycle, somebody backing out of the driveway, in the emergency, the mama's prayer is like her telling God, you fix this. This is wrong. You heal my child now. Where it's not being bossy to some greater force, but it's that total passion. And I had this thing where I literally got down on my knees, which is not a usual format of my spirituality, and just put out that prayer to the universe, saying, I can't bear this anymore. This business has broken me emotionally. I'm can't stand this. Please show me a path, something else to do. I'll go empty pans for Sister Teresa. I don't care. But I need an out and a direction to go in.
Right.
And then I was still on my knees in the silence. And I was so weakened physically and spiritually, I had to kind of shimmy myself up into bed. And I just lied there at a right angle in bed up against the wall. And I was just quiet. And all of a sudden I heard in my head, we are all God's chosen people in some great eternal plan, and we touch the heart of heaven when we help our fellow man. If we're judged by our compassion in the great sweet by and by, I know there but for the grace of God go I. Period. Full stop.
Wow.
And I heard it, minus the guitar chords, I heard the melody being sung to me. And my first reaction was, that's not what I wanted. But I was like, what the hell? I'm on a mission from God. I asked for a sign. Not the one I wanted, but I guess I'm supposed to be.
The one you needed.
Yeah. And not just what I needed. When something like that comes through an artist, it's like there are people out there that needed that. It's not just about me. God just sung me a hit. It's like there's people that need this. And I've had people come up to me and say, after a little show or something, oh, that song. And, they've been moved. They've been moved more than the sermon moved them or something else. Or they had a recent, something they were petty about. And they kind of went, oh. So that means a whole lot to me.
Well, you're like a conduit for sure. So.
Oh, absolutely. God call it the muse. I just call it the muse. But my best in some songs, I just I cop a groove, but even the melodies are usually kind of sung to me, or there's an expression that I hear and that kind of triggers something. But there are some of those things that just come through, and I say, no, this song was meant to be here on this planet, and it came through me. And so, it came through me because I was going through some emotional thing, be it a happy thing or being, the bottom of the barrel. And I needed that uplift, and it gave me that uplifting. And it's my gig to go out there and uplift somebody else.
Ask you. So when that happens, because that's happened to me, where something will come into my head. And then, of course, you wake up the next morning, you've totally forgotten it. And even though I've now have pen and paper by my bedstand, did you get up right away or whatever you were doing and write that down?
I think that was just there was so much emotional trauma. I didn't do that, but I have done that. Like sometimes I say to myself, the beginning of the Psalm of David, just to me, it's the greatest psychological, and it's very literal. It's not just in thee, thoueth stuff. It's really great. And I was saying that to myself just to calm down. And it was the morning, and it was still dark outside, like early a.m. And I sort of said that to myself, just like to mantra myself back to sleep. And I went to say it, and all of a sudden,
wow, it
sung itself to me.
That's amazing.
And I went to say it again, and there was a melody, and the Psalm of David was being, so I finally said, get out of bed in the dark, pick up a guitar, hit the hit the voice memo on my thing, and just play it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it all came out, and even a verse for it. I never really kind of got the lyrics because it was kind of tough to, with writing it without David as a co-writer, how to match his stuff.
Right.
But I got the melody, I got the verse, the chorus, I got everything, the groove, everything I needed to know.
So, and again, before we get into the construct, because I keep popping the interesting questions come popping into my head, but so I've written a lot of songs too, but I haven't written in recent years. Earlier on in my life, I went through turmoil, divorces, and a divorce, I should say, but there's a lot of relationship, BS, that kind of stuff. A lot of material to draw on, and I found that when I wrote, it came from something personal and usually something that's in turmoil. I've talked to other songwriters, like there's a local woman here, and she says, and I'm not as disciplined as her, and she goes, I go home every night and I write, even after she's performing all day or whatever she's doing. And so where do you find the inspiration? I said, because, I found a lot of what I did came from my own personal story and of turmoil that I was going through at the time. But frankly, my life's really great. And so I don't have that. And she says, well, you're not looking around the world, to kind of all the other stuff that's out there that you could be writing about. And, it sort of switched my brain to a different mindset that of how to write. I guess, if there's a question in there, it's more of how do you keep yourself continuing to write and get into a mindset when maybe there's an apparent lack of inspiration or material that is in front of you?
Well, for me, again, one of my workshops is make your guitar your co-writer. So sometimes I'm just sitting there playing something on guitar, and it puts me in a James Taylor mood, or it puts me in a Chuck Berry mood, or a Delta blues mood, and something, and I just hit the voice recorder. And sometimes when I start off in the first 10 minutes, 12 minutes and 8 seconds into it, it's a totally different song and groove, and I've meandered off, and musically meandered off. That sounds better. And it's a piece of something. And there are certain things, like the lead song for my new album is called Founding Fathers.
Yes, good song.
And I wrote that a while ago, but it was just, in this past kind of where, the political pot has just been boiling over, that all of a sudden I said, no, I need to, that's not just a casual, nice alliteration thing.
Right.
And I wrote the song, and I wrote it deliberately to say, I want this to be non-partisan. I'm incredibly partisan, but I'm also open to all sides and have respect for people that are respectful on both sides. But it came through as the angle of a ghost story, the combination prayer and a ghost story. Founding fathers looking down from up above on this country you created with such love. Are you happy with everything you see? Founding fathers, won't you talk to me? And then goes into, hey, you did all this, you had all this, but you got things done. You created this miracle, and and how do we reconnect with the vision of your golden legacy? Can you help to reunite us somehow, founding fathers? We can sure use you now.
Yeah.
So that's something where current events. But it's not just like the news current events. It's really, the psyche of
absolutely
of ourself and the world, really. So that can be an inspiration.
Yeah.
As well.
So let's get into the song we just played, and why don't you just walk us through your approach?
Okay. I first want just a quick little setup of how I came about this approach, which was I was doing a songwriting contest. And you had to rate things from 5 to 10, because nobody wants to get a 4 or a 2. Okay, and I'm just going, this is awful. Okay, 6, give it a generous 7. What the heck? And blah, blah, blah. And I went through dozens of these things, and I said, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm just a snob. I like what I like. I like my writing. I don't care. I'm not really listening right. I'm just gonna finish this next one off and just call it quits. I've done 100 of these things, and I put in the cassette, and I looked at the lyric sheet. And I just read the title and went, And, waiting for the, a couple of seconds of the intro, I'm scanning the first couple of lines. And it was something about, there was a man called Ali, and something to the effect of it was, he said he was the greatest. And the song was called That Ain't Bragging If You Can Back It Up. And it's just the first couple of lines are about Muhammad Ali. And I said, this is an 11. Yeah. And I got 3 more songs from the guy, and they were all great songs. And then, aside from handing it in, I said, why? No, it's not me. Why did this thing jump out at me? When all these other things, My Little Pussycat's my best friend, just didn't cut it. Or, just these ordinary songs. And I really kind of put on my Sigmund Freud, my Sherlock Holmes hat, and my Sigmund Freud kind of pipe, and really just sort of put stuff in the emotional and intellectual blender, and came up with this basic kind of theory, which I'll just read. I said, a good song should be a bookmark in somebody else's memory bank. Good songwriting is about communication. When we communicate, and this has to do with what you were talking about with your psychologists and how the brain function works. I said, songwriting about communication. We communicate on 3 levels: the visual, emotional, or psychological level. That's how we know whether we're having a good time or we're mad at each other, or let's go get a coffee or hit the delete button. A great song should be a musical mind bridge connecting your thoughts, feelings, and images with those of the listener. And I said, this workshop's a collection of common sense talking points to help you create memorable lyrics, stories, characters, and melodies that will grab the head, heart, and soul of the listener. So I have lots of these little bullet points. I don't want to take up the whole time with the seminar. People are welcome to email me, and I can send them the outline, or I do online consultant work and stuff. But there are just little things, I'll give you a few examples, create that musical mind bridge by using snapshots of events and things. You want people to feel like they're going through the photo album of the family. They're seeing things. And if they're seeing your varsity, jacket and your football stuff, right, they're thinking about when they played football or basketball on their high school team. There's little things like internal versus external. They say, when I look into your eyes, I get that feeling deep inside. What's that feeling deep inside? Is it, hey, let's go upstairs? Is it acid reflux? I don't know, But if I say, every time I look in your eyes, it's like falling in love again for the first time. You go like, oh, I remember the listener goes, I remember when I first saw her at the prom or at the party, and we did, and they're seeing, they're feeling that moment emotionally. They're seeing that photograph that he can still see her in the red dress, or hear the giggle, when he said a little something nervously and she laughed. That's making that connection. So your story is their story. Right. Also, how to sometimes use, like you talked about, and they say with writers, write what you know. But one of the problems, I did song evaluation nights and stuff, there are thousands of songs. And I said, sometimes they're writing what you know, but they're writing it from their perspective. Like they're in their seat and telling you what the landscape looks like. And I call it sort of the God voice sometimes, looking down. where take what you feel, the essence of your story, but have it, from that 30,000 feet looking down at this, clay figure that you're breathing life into of the story. And there's little things, again, like psychologically, I think this ties into what you're saying. But when I'm talking about rhymes that people use, there's so many things that you can see how people are just like, oh, we're trying to get that square peg into the round hole for a rhyme.
Right.
And going for the simplest rhyme and then backing up to just find out what words get to the rhyme. And I talk about the primal rhymester. They go, what the hell is that? And I said, you were being cuddled by your mom or tucked into bed, and the books you were read were Hickory Dickory Dock, the mouse ran up the clock. And, there are these very early Moon Spoon June rhymes they're like mental comfort food. And even as grown-ups, we go back to like these simple solution rhymes when we're stuck. So I have that, be aware of and avoid the primal rhymester. And if you have a line, instead of letting the primal rhymester write the next one, just write a good next line. And then it doesn't have to rhyme. Have a good line, and then say, hey, I'm going back. It's the first line that needs patching up, or it opens up a whole different idea.
Right.
How to use honey words that, if you your wife baked me some cookies, and you gave me the cookies, and I went, hey, there's good cookies. And she said, hey, how did Denny like the cookies? You said they were good. Oh, okay. That's the last Denny gets cookies. If she says, how did Denny like the cookies? They were delicious. Denny's got the next batch, next time you're coming to see Denny. And even the word delicious, it's a good, juicy word. So what kind of words do we use that really have an emotional impact? Good doesn't have any emotional impact. Delicious does. One of the tools that I use is a simple childish tool is, anyone remembers these things, or I get my image there, the Viewmaster. And I said, every line in a song should be like, once upon a time, there were 3 little bears. The mama bear, the papa bear, and the baby bear. Goldilocks was in the forest, came upon a shack. She knocked on the door. And every line in your song should either advance the story or reinforce something in the story.
Right.
And if you hold yourself to those kind of standards, you can really get back to my concept. You're emotionally, visually, and psychologically. So all of the lines should be connecting to that. And, it's just all sorts of other things. So now, when I wrote this song, again, this song wrote me. This came through. But going back, after I even put this whole 3D theory together, I looked at this song and said, that's exactly what I'm doing here. And that's why it impacted me, and that's why people pick up on it like that. It starts off, I was walking down on Main Street. Okay, everybody, there's a Main Street everywhere. Late one cold December night. Okay, it's, Paul Simon, I turned my collar to the cold and damp. It's kind of dark, it's night, it's spooky, it's near Christmas, you're alone. When a shadow man approached me underneath the corner light. Okay, so the first one was walking down a Main Street, cold December night. You can feel it's an emotional, and you can see an image of sort of a Main Street. When a shadow man approached me underneath the corner light. Well, you can see, what is this shadow man? Who is this? So psychologically, it's and you can see there's something dark and maybe foreboding coming towards you. You can see it. You're feeling, am I going to get mugged, or what's going on, right? So that line hits the trifecta. His clothes were torn and tattered, and his eyes had lost their shine. Oh, okay, I'm seeing, a homeless person. I'm feeling for that homeless person. You're hitting 2 out of 3 of it. But I recognize that old school friend of mine. Wait a minute, the psychological thing just exploded. It's like a surprise turn in a mystery movie. You didn't see that coming. Then in the second verse, he lost his home and all he owned when they closed the factory down. Okay, you're feeling empathy for him. You're seeing his story, and you can see that story in the news, people that's happened to. So you're emotionally connecting to it. You're seeing that gated, locked up factory with a gate outside and no smoke coming out of the chimneys. He lost his wife and family when the bottle came around. You're emotionally feeling that, he's a drunk. You've seen the story,
yeah.
People. Mm-hmm. He lost his faith. He lost his home. He lost his sense of pride. You're just feeling how this emotionally deserted this guy is. And I say, there, but for the grace of God, go I. Again, that's an expression everyone relates to. And all of a sudden, you're taking his story and it's going to your story, which is then crossing that bridge over into the listener's story, because they're feeling empathy now for the character. And they've had that moment, oh, phew, boy, the guy, I just stopped for a second and boy, that thing jumped the stop sign of the red light and I could have killed him.
Right. And you had a total surprise in there when you realized it was a classmate. And because that.
Yeah. And then the hook is just, there but for the grace of God go I, and today may bring you fortune and tomorrow pass you by. I can't always help my brother, but I'm bound at least to try. I know there but for the grace of God go I. That's just, again, I said the lines must move the story. Now, all the other lines in the verses were moving the story, every clip. For this guy, these lines are just there to reinforce that one line. There but for the grace of God go I. It could be happy, it could be good times, it could be bad times, blah, 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 blah. So hey, remember, wherever you are, if you're okay, there but for the grace of God are you. Now in the second verse, or actually it would be the third verse, logically it would be, so I took the guy into my house and we fed him and we helped him get a job and blah, 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 blah. Boring. I don't want the regular guy anymore. Because it's not, I've said and shown and made you feel everything you can about this guy. So just lifting him out of the gutter, it's a nice guy, but it doesn't make for an interesting story.
Right.
I'm in the middle of the movie and I don't want to just clean him up. So I totally make a jump. When I see the senseless suffering every night on my TV, everybody sees that. They feel the bombed out shelters. It's even psychologically, why is this stuff happening? Why are the flies around the little, skinny African baby's head? How did this happen? Mm. The corruption and the violence and the inhumanity. Again, we're seeing this. And I had no idea even how much of this, when I wrote this song, there wasn't as much of this stuff going on that we're seeing hour by hour on the news. See the wrath of Mother Nature, the hunger, the hurricanes, the floods, the fires. Hear the hungry children cry. I say there, but for the grace of God, go on.
Well, I mean, that's totally related to, Gaza right now. It's crazy. I mean,
it's related to everything.
Yeah, everything, but
Ukraine, to places, the Sudan, right?
Yeah,
and so this is the hurricane. It's now coming inland. Stage 5. It's all things you visually and emotionally see, So again, it's not my story,
right?
And now here, I started off with in the first person, I was walking down the street, blah, 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 and all of a sudden I shifted to that God voice. Even though I'm saying when I see that, it's the God voice. So, look at what you guys have done to yourselves, right? And then I go back to the kind of first person. When I see my children sleeping safely in their beds, people with kids or even without kids, it's cute. You see it, you emotionally feel it. I get down upon my knees in prayer, as I said, you see it. Then I think of all the lost and lonely souls along the way. And all of a sudden, it's psychological, it's processing. And I pray there's something I can do, lift them up to help them through, to give them hope to face another day. It's trying to come up with a solution, but it's about, the thought process. It's psychologically doing it. Then the moral to the story winds up being, we were all God's chosen people in some great eternal plan, which is just a real big personal thing to me.
Right.
And we touch the heart of heaven. That's the little poetry there that I like. We've touched the heart of heaven when we help our fellow man. So here I'm putting on the full, preacher's robe on Easter Sunday. And if we're judged by our compassion and the great sweet by and by, I hope there but through the grace of God go I. So there's a humility to that. The chorus and out. Yeah. And end with that happy little, circus merry-go-round jingly guitar. Usually, and again, this whole thing came to me musically, and I had another song that was on my first CD that I was in bed and in a dead sleep, and I heard, "We're burning bright as Babylon, spirit shining on. Won't you come along when we all go home? Brothers and sisters, there's just one world for all." Period. Full stop. And I woke up and I said, what the hell does that mean? It sounds good, the lyrics and the alliteration and stuff. And, there's a spiritual thing to it. But what Babylon is, what the horrors of Babylon and, what. And it was so peaceful and stuff. And it took me it just kicked around, I dropped the songs, and often the song just follows you around. Like a stray cat. And finally I went and I looked up Babylon. I said, wait a minute, Babylon was the center of civilization, one of the first places, and there were the hanging gardens of Babylon. And, it was really, like Reagan said, the bright, shiny city on the hill. Sure. Of its time. The first time civilization ever kind of meshed. So I said, okay, so the song is about bringing people together. Mm-hmm. So I took that. "We burning bright as Babylon, spirit shining on spirit. Won't you come along when we all go home? Brothers and sisters, there's just one world for all. Frightened, fragile, highly vulnerable. Look to the heavens if and when you do. After the tempest, there'll be a rainbow passing through. We'd be burning bright." So the song was just about, again, the spiritual thing came through me, and just that. Sure. How do we bring ourselves together? So again, I piled on Weaver's harmony. Right. Won't you come along on the bottom. So from your influences. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And that's on, these songs are all on my CDs, which are available. You can even just listen for free, or you can download them on my website. Yes, which is, tell us what that website is, just, and I will say it again at the end, but. It is Denny Sarokin, DennySarokin.com. Well, Denny Sarokin, I appreciate you being on Stage Stream. I appreciate you taking this time to help us record this amazing story of yours. And I know it's going to be very hard to edit because we have covered a lot of ground in almost 2 hours of conversation. It's been great. And everybody, it's Denny Sarokin, and it's DennySarokin.com, DennySarokin.com. And we'll have things in the notes. We're doing this as a video cast right now, but we will have a audio only podcast, of course. But it's great to have both types of versions, so you can see us a little bit animated in our conversation here. So, Denny, once again, thank you so much. Thank you, man. Thank you for all you do. God bless. And until the next time.
And now this message.
Introducing SageStream, a dynamic platform offering live, interactive, real-time music video streaming tailored for older adults. Here's how we elevate the experience. Enjoy a rich variety of live performances, complemented by rebroadcasts and a comprehensive archive of past shows. Access over 100 top artists from around the world, including sought-after talents like Ben Morrow, guitarist for icons like Cher and Lionel Richie. Explore a wide range of musical genres such as jazz, rock, blues, classical, standards, opera, and beyond. Engage directly with artists through song requests and personalized acknowledgments, fostering connections through chat and text interaction. No hardware necessary. Simply sign in with a username and password from any device or smart TV, ensuring hassle-free accessibility. Keep your loved ones connected and engaged, combating isolation and fostering a sense of community. Elevate their quality of life with exciting and uplifting musical experiences that bring joy. Senior living providers offering SageStream provide many benefits. According to a University of Michigan study, 4 in 5 older adults watch musical performances on the internet. They report stress relief, relaxation, joy, improved mental health, memory stimulation, and enhanced motivation and energy. SageStream saves planning time. It is a powerful sales tool and boosts net promoter scores. Having SageStream readily available proves invaluable in various scenarios, such as when entertainers cancel, during health emergencies, and for filling challenging time slots. SageStream, where music meets connection, enhancing lives one tune at a time.
Here's this episode's tip for incorporating music into your everyday life for health and wellness, brought to you from Connie Tomaino, the co-founder and executive director of the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function.
Music is really interesting because it can lift us up emotionally. It can also help us deal with sad situations. And we know that everybody has different ways of coping with difficult situations, especially loss and sadness. But there's music probably you have in your library that can put you into either reflect the mood that you're in so you can deal with that, or help distract you for the moment if that's needed. Obviously, if you do need help, you should seek professional care. But, for just like little things that maybe upset you and you really want to vent, find that music that matches that mood and allows you to experience those feelings fully so you don't dwell on them and they don't sort of hold you back. So there's music for every mood you can imagine. I'm sure your library has it. So just think about those particular songs that can help you through difficult times.
Here is this week's listener's musical memory.
Hello, my name is Johnny J. Blair, singer at large. I'm a professional musician and entertainer. And if I had to pick one song that made a difference in my life, I'm going to go back to Space Oddity by David Bowie. He wrote that song and made a video to commemorate the landing on the moon in July of 1969. And John F. Kennedy's prediction came true. We got people on the moon. And for him, it was kind of a novelty song. He became more popular later when he morphed into a singer-songwriter, and more people knew about him after Ziggy Stardust and Hunky Dory and those records. So the Space Oddity song came back out. I was around 14, going into 15. At that time, I bought Ziggy Stardust, and all my friends loved it. They wore it out. And I got it back after 3 weeks, and it was all fingerprinted, and and then Space Oddity made the rounds one more time. The record company decided, let's expose it, and that one really hit me. It kind of extends on the alien theme in the Ziggy Stardust records, and that was a undercurrent in a lot of David Bowie stuff, but that particular one was very lavish and sophisticated. It had one of my favorite keyboard players, Rick Wakeman playing the mellotron, and so much great work in the musicianship. But it wasn't just that. For me, I was a young teenager at the time, going through a lot of hard stuff. And music at that point, I'd been playing music and already played in some garage bands and some different things, doing covers and getting to know people that could play and so on. And I made some recordings at that point, but that particular song raised the bar for me as a musician because it was in my realm of comprehension to say, oh, that's such a great song. Maybe I could do something that good. So it inspired me technically, but also emotionally and spiritually, it gave me a safe place. And without going into a lot of detail about the drama going on at that point in my life, music was my safety zone. It was a place where at school kids wouldn't pick on me. I actually got along better with people when there was music involved. And even at home, I felt it was like a shelter. And all the things that were going on in the house at that time, it was a place I could go where I could either be left alone and think my thoughts freely and feel better about myself. And then, as with a lot of us, I think sharing music, you meet somebody. I met people that, oh, wow, I think this is cool too. So all of a sudden I have kinship with people, which is very essential at that age, well, at any age, of course, to have that particular thing to share. But I think in that age group is where we bond with music in a different way than when we are adults. In conclusion, I'll just say that song brought me a lot of comfort as well as instruction, and it surely stimulated my imagination.
Your Brain on Music was written, produced, and created by me, Anthony Cirillo, with original music from Ariel Soul, a great harpist. You can find him at arielsoul.com, ARIELSOL.com. Please subscribe to our group, Your Brain on Music, on Facebook. And of course, you can download this podcast from all of the typical and normal podcast providers. So we hope you subscribe to our podcast and listen to it. We'll be featuring many great artists and neuroscientists talking about what happens in your brain when music is played. Until next time, thanks a lot.